What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Talkin Tide. This is episode 2 of the 2025-2026 football season. This is Tuesday night show. So a little bit of a preview for the week, talking about some news. Going to do a little bit about the FSU game, but really what I'll talk about in this one, I want to talk about the predicted starting lineups, at least my predicted starting lineups. Other people may have different opinions, but this is what I'm going to assume our starting lineup will look like against Florida State this weekend. First things first, please do please subscribe. I'm really trying to get this channel off the ground and put out some good quality video content for you guys this season. It's been something that's been on my bucket list for years, and this is really where I want to start it. So please do please subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton. Now, let's start off with something that dropped today. Just a little bit of kind of cleaning up things here. So West Virginia was a home and home series that we did have for the 2026-2027 season. That has been dropped. And West Virginia has been replaced with East Carolina. This is more than likely just in response to the 9-game conference season that the SEC has decided now. We'll play 9 conference games instead of 8. So I think this is just a direct response to that. Playing a group of 5 team instead of playing a power 4 team makes it a little bit more like a preseason early on. You get to figure out your depth. You get to figure out your guys you can lean on, try and reduce injury, things like that. I think that's just all it's in relation to. So West Virginia series has been dropped for next season, and East Carolina will replace them. I have no idea what the scheduling is looking like as far as the 9 conference games go. I'm sure that's something that'll get released down the road. But as of right now, not entirely sure. I know we play FSU. I know we play East Carolina next season, and that's really about it as far as scheduling goes for next season. So we'll see what happens going forward. A couple of things I did want to cover about the Florida State game before going into depth chart and predicted starter kind of things. Some news came out. Obviously, Jam Miller got hurt a couple of weeks ago. We've known this for a little while now. Jaeden Roberts has also popped up being injured. He's under concussion protocol. He's been labeled as questionable or unlikely for Saturday's game. The good thing is there is a lot of depth of that offensive line. So we picked up some good talent in the portal. I think we'll be okay at the position. There was a little bit of a battle between Roberts and Vandermark going in the fall camp, but now that seems to kind of be resided just based on injury. Like I said, he's questionable, unlikely, so I'm not entirely sure if we'll see him, period, or how many snaps, how limited his snap count is going to be. It's not great for the Tide, but like I said, we have a ton of depth on the offensive line. It's been one of those positions where if we lack a depth, we do get hurt. We had a couple of injuries in the past few seasons where it's very obvious how thin we can be on the offensive line. Especially this season with a young quarterback, I think it's going to be down to the offensive line to kind of settle him in, help defend him a little bit, just give him some confidence and give him some protection. So don't love seeing that early on. It is a concussion, so it's not likely going to be something that affects us going forward, or at least as far as, it's not a muscle tear or anything like that. So hopefully we'll be okay as far as depth goes going forward. Like I said, we did pick up some really good guys in the portal. Guys like Cam Dewberry, Gino Vandermark a couple of years ago. So I think we're going to be okay in that aspect, but it limits it to where you don't want to see anybody else go down because that position is starting to get a little bit thinner. One other headline I did see that I just wanted to kind of mention for this weekend is Jalen Mbakwe started playing scout team quarterback. This is just, I believe, in direct response to Thomas Castellanos being very mobile, very agile guy. For those of you who didn't know that Mbakwe played, he plays quarterback at Clay Chalkville. Actually ended up playing against Ryan Williams' high school team and beat them in the 6A championship a couple of years ago. So good quarterback in high school. Obviously very mobile, very agile guy. Kind of had a little bit of a weird offseason. Transferred from corner to wide receiver. I'm not entirely sure where he's listed now. I'm pretty sure he's still just listed as wide receiver as far as I know. So it kind of had a weird offseason, but a good way for Mbakwe to contribute, playing scout team quarterback. Mobile quarterbacks is something we've struggled to play against in the past. I've talked about this before. I think that with Castellanos, he's just one of those trademark slippery guys, very athletic, can do a lot of good things with his feet and with his arm, but he struggles with decision making at time. Didn't cut it at Boston College, so we'll see how it goes against FSU. Thought that was a little bit of a fun story along there with Bach. One thing I saw too in that same article was LT Overton talking about last season. I mean, last year we played against the best mobile athletic quarterback we played against all season in Jalen Milrow. We played against them every week in practice. So I think that's going to give a little bit of confidence to the guys up front. I think that's going to keep them, it keeps them a little more disciplined. I think they're going to be fairly well equipped to handle Castellanos. I don't think the defense, spoiler, I don't think defense is really going to be a problem going forward, at least in that game. Really going forward at all. I think the defense is going to be the standout this season. Not to give you too many spoilers for how the season is going to go, but I think it's going to be down to the offense to score points and get comfortable and grow in to this game early. I think the defense will help them out, and I think as long as Ty Simpson can go out there, deliver, be comfortable, not turn the ball over, I think we'll be just fine in this game. With all that kind of taken care of, like I said, we'll do a preview for the Florida State game on Friday. So we'll really kind of suss that out, go into a little more depth with that game. What I did want to do tonight, like I said, I want to do starting lineups. I'm going to do them for the offense tonight, and then tomorrow night I'll do them for the defense. So starting lineup, quarterback, it's no real question there. It's going to be Ty Simpson. It was announced a couple weeks ago. Ty's the guy, and I think that he'll be great. Personally, I think that he's going to be very, very good going forward this season. It's just going to be on him to settle into the game against FSU. And I look at a lot of the guys around him, a lot of veterans on the offensive line, wide receiver. Not as deep at running back just because Jam Miller's hurt, but I think it's going to be on a lot of those guys to help him settle in, become a real unit, and work together as a team. But I think Ty's going to do good things this year. Running back, we talked about it a little bit. Jam Miller being injured. Some of the news coming out about that is that he'll be hopefully healthy. I don't know to what extent versus Georgia. So that'll be a little bit of a boost for the Georgia game. But until then, I think that Richard Young is going to be our starter. Kalen DeBoer talked about a little bit the running back room, saying there's no real standout guy. Nobody's really separated themselves from the pack. But I still think that Richard Young had a lot of big game experience last year. I think that he's going to be just the number one guy. We picked up Dre Washington from Louisiana. Daniel Hill's obviously a really talented guy also in the backfield. I think that they're going to get a fair share of touches against FSU, especially if it turns into a game where we're not moving the ball great through the air. We're struggling a little bit. Ty's struggling to grow into the game. I think we look to the running back room and lean on that offensive line to really settle us in. I think we'll end up walking the way with the game late. Late as in, third quarter, fourth quarter, that kind of thing. But I think it could be a little bit of back and forth early on. Just let the guys go out there, get their feet settled. And I think a guy like Richard Young, who's had enough experience, played behind this offensive line a couple of times last season, I think he's going to be the guy we go to as far as the running back room goes. And then Daniel Hill, Dre Washington, I think they're going to be talented. I think they're going to get a good bit of touches this season, just going throughout it. But for Florida State, Richard Young's my starter. Let's go to the wide receiver room. Now, the wide receiver room is as talented as anybody in the country. I think that they are going to be, if we do win a national championship, I think they will be the reason we do it, along with the defense. Starters for me are going to be Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton. I don't think those are controversial picks. Those are just kind of the consensus starters for the wide receiver room this season. Rico Scott, Cole Adams, Jalen Hell, I think are going to be some other guys who get a lot of meaningful touches. I think Rico Scott showed a lot of promise last year. He got a couple of impactful touches. Cole Adams had a good season last season, suffered 2 pretty serious injuries. The second one ended up doing him out for the season. Jalen Hale suffered a season-ending injury before the season even started last year, so I think he's got a lot of talent. I think that all of these guys have the ability to go out there and have meaningful touches, all 6 of them. Obviously, we want to talk about Ryan Williams. He's a standout guy. Came in freshman year, lit it up, announced himself to the world playing against Georgia. There's not really much to say that hasn't been said about Ryan Williams. I think he's a year older. He's a year smarter. He's already going to be high up on NFL draft boards despite just being a starter. I think that he's going to have an exceptional season this year. And people talk about it last year. He played really well against Georgia and then kind of tapered off. That's not how I see it. But I think this year he'll make his impact felt on more than just a couple of games. Not that he did last season, but I think that he has a wider reach this season. I think that Jeremy Bernard has all the ability in the world to be wide receiver number one this year, despite all of what I just said about Ryan Williams. He's an exceptional route runner. He has explosiveness. He's physical. He reminds me a lot of John Mechie. For those of you that John Mechie is just one of those guys that goes out there and just plays wide receiver at such a high level. He can run routes. He can block. He's very technical. He can catch the ball. He's just one of those guys who can go out there and you can lean on him all the time, which I think is one of the things that Ty Simpson needs. I think he needs a guy he can just go to. He knows he's going to be there. Whatever route he runs, he's going to hit him in time. I think that's the kind of, especially early on, I think that's the kind of guy Ty's going to need going forward. And, he's already got a season with Jeremy under his belt, played, a couple times last year, got him a couple balls, and now had the full offseason to really grow and develop that relationship between the two. I think they could be a really good matchup or a really good combo going forward this season. A lot to be said about Isaiah Horton as well. Transfer from Miami, had a good season last season, caught 56 passes, 5 touchdowns, 616 yards. Played wide receiver number 2 behind a really talented wide receiver in Miami called Xavier Restrepo. Fun guy to watch, playing in the NFL last I checked. But we're not talking about him. I think that Horton has kind of like Ryan Williams. I think he has all the potential to be a type of game breaker. Big guy, physical guy, 6'4", 205, a red zone threat that we've struggled to have in the past. I think that he can be a guy we can lean on in the red zone. We've got a couple of tight ends as well, up and coming tight ends that are big and physical that can also be red zone threats. But when we get inside the red zone, I look at guys, and especially now with not having Jam Miller, I'm looking at guys, who can go up there, snag a ball against a smaller corner or snag it against a safety. And guys like Isaiah Horton are not only explosive in the open field, but I think they can go out there and be a serious red zone threat. Again, just a guy for Ty Simpson to be looking towards. A guy for him to just know, hey, if I throw this up there, this guy's likely going to come down with it. If I overthrow him, doesn't matter. He's tall, he's big, he's physical. He can go up there and get the 50-50 ball if I need him to. I think that Isaiah Horton's going to really, he's going to be very successful in this style of offense. All right, okay, so one thing I do want to talk about and put a pause on the depth chart, kind of what we're talking. I think that wide receiver room is going to be one of those things that is going to win us a national championship. If we end up winning it, I think it's going to be down to that wide receiver room. We've got a quarterback now who's got a really talented arm, really highly recruited, been there for 5 years, responsible with the football, and now he has weapons. It's been one of those things when we look at guys like Bryce Young, probably the most talented quarterback we've ever seen in Alabama. Just based on his ability to throw the ball, his ability to escape, his ability to make things happen with his feet and arm. But we look at the wide receivers around him, wasn't always the most talented group. And then we look at a guy like Jalen Milroe, talented athlete, big guy, had a great wide receiver room, probably didn't have the arm talent to distribute the ball as well as he could have. I think we're looking at a season now where we kind of have the best of both worlds. Obviously have a very, very elite wide receiver room and a quarterback who can deliver the ball to them. I think that's really going to be the combo to what could win us a national championship. We have to be effective in the wide receiver room. Here's something that when I looked at it a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have believed it to be not possible, if that makes sense. Alabama has not had a 1,000-yard wide receiver since 2021. Jamison Williams was the last 1,000-yard receiver we had. And if you look back from 2017 to 2021, we had a 1,000-yard guy every single season. You had guys like Jamison Williams, Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy. We had really, really elite guys and elite arm talent in the backfield to deliver the ball. It's been 4 years since we've had a guy catch 1,000 yards. That's not going to lead to a national championship. I think for us to be effective and be elite, and this also does come down to now having an offensive coordinator in Ryan Grubb. I think that we've got to really be balanced on offense, but we have to be able to get good production through the air. And like I said, this wide receiver room is as deep as they come. The starting 3 could be wide receiver number 1 at 90% of the schools in the country. They're all elite. They all can win you football games. And now it's just going to be able be down to devising up a scheme and having Ty Simpson be comfortable and be able to deliver the ball at the right time. That's just all it's going to come down to. And I think as we go down the road, that's going to get better and better. And we've got great guys coming up as well. You look at guys like Lotzier Brooks and Derek Meadows. Both guys really elite freshmen coming up this year. I think whenever they do get play time, they'll have some meaningful touches as well. This wide receiver room is as deep as anybody in the country. I can spend hours talking about them. But I think if we are going to win a national championship, it's going to be down to them and going to be down to our defense. So I'll just leave it at that for the wide receiver room. Tight end. So we go from having a really deep room to a room that's probably, I would say, our weakest for this year. We had two really talented guys in CJ Dupree and Robbie Oots leave for the draft this year. I think Josh Cuevas is going to start. And he had some meaningful touches and played in a good bit of games the last season. Guys like Caleb Edwards, freshman coming in, 6'6", 264. I already talked about him a little bit. He's an absolute unit. I think he could have some real meaningful play time as well. It's going to be one of those rooms that's a little bit more thin. We've got guys like Marshall Pritchett as well. Got injured in spring. I'm not 100% sure what the injury was about. Supposedly going to be healthy he was supposedly healthy for the fall camp. So hopefully no real injury concern there because it's pretty thin. I think Cuevas will, like I said, start this game. But look to guys like Edwards and Pritchett to also get some meaningful touches this season. All right, on to the offensive line. Now, I talked about it a little bit with making Ty Simpson comfortable in that backfield, and it's really going to be down to these guys whether we really play well in this Florida State game versus if we struggle a little bit. Me personally, that's what I think. So, nailed on starter, center Parker Brailsford. I would say now nailed on starter, Gino Vandermark, now that Roberts has had his injury for concussion. Right guard, I got Cam Dewberry transferring from Texas A&M. Left tackle, Caden Proctor. Right tackle, I got Will Conformby. So we talked about depth in the offensive line. I think that all these guys up front are going to be a very good unit. Each of them has got a ton of snaps under their belt. Dewberry coming from an SEC team in Texas A&M. Vandermark came in a couple of years ago from Michigan State. Everybody on that offensive line is talented. Everybody has got a lot of experience. It's going to come down to, can they be a very cohesive unit going forward? And when I look at guys like Brailford, Vandermark, and Proctor, I think they can be. You know, they're guys who played snaps alongside of each other last season. Will Conformby as well. Been here a couple of years now. I think he can be very good. I want to see that development go forward for him, and in the same way that Caden Proctor had. I think this offensive line really determines the success of this football team. If they're elite and they're dominant, I think that we go and we dominate the teams we're supposed to dominate, and we play very well against teams that are going to put some pressure on us. Teams like Georgia, FSU loves to blitz. It's going to be one of those things where, can they go out? Can they play as a unit? Can they communicate? They're all battle tested. They're all hardened veterans of the SEC, or in the case of Vandermark, you know, played a lot of Michigan State. All these guys are talented. All of them are deep. All of them have a lot of talent. It's just going to be, we have to go out and play together as a unit. And I hope that's been something that's been said in fall camp and been really worked on as far as communication goes, blocking schemes, all that good stuff, because you've got a young quarterback back there. And I'm going to really put challenge out there to the offensive line to protect him, make him feel comfortable, help him go out there and distribute the ball. And if they do that, I don't see why we're not a favorite for a national title. It's as simple as that. I think that if the offensive line steps up, we will be the most dominant team in the country. Simple as that. So that's on them. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I think that was really all I wanted to talk about today. We'll do defensive line tomorrow night. We will do Florida State preview show on Friday, but I want to keep this under 20 minutes. We're right at 20 minutes. If I did the defensive line, we would be going on for about 40, 45 minutes. So wanted to keep the show nice, sweet, short, and simple. All I ask, please do subscribe. Please like, please comment. Let me know where I got it wrong. Let me know where I got it right. Let me know what you guys think about the Florida State game. I genuinely do want to get this up and running as a very good, high quality product for you guys. And like, subscribes, make it worth it. Honestly, they do. So I appreciate you guys for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, roll Tide.